And good morning, everybody. This is Sherman Ray, and this is Godstream News. I want to welcome you all to the broadcast today. This is going to be a very interesting show. This is really about our debate show because that seems like that was everything in the news today. There's so many things you would think were going on in the world, but really the only thing that seemed to be going on for most people was actually the debate, and they might want to call it the Thrilla in Manila. They really should, because this was just a wow. How many of you watched the debate last night? If you'd let us know, it'd be wonderful. If you want, let us know in the comment section how many of you actually watched the debate. Also, while you're there, subscribe to our channel. We really encourage you to do that. Just go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and put that up there. There you go. Subscribe to our channel. This way, the more you subscribe to our channel, the more people will actually like our channel and be able to get out and find out what we're doing on Godstream News. Okay, so be sure you do that. So yesterday was the big day. It was the presidential debate, and that's really all everybody's talking about. I wish we were going to talk about something else, but really that's about it. This is stories out of the Associated Press. The headline is, and it's pretty much the headline that everybody saw. President Biden went up against former President Donald Trump at CNN studio. It's called the CNN presidential debate. Now, there was a lot of weird things that were going on around this before it started, but one of the things that they didn't realize is based upon the format and based upon the rules and everything else, was it going to be fair to both candidates? Most people probably understood that CNN was no friend of Donald Trump. Donald Trump spent most of his presidency vilifying CNN, most mainstream, what we call legacy media, for what they believe were unfair and frankly biased reporting on him. Not only was that a part of it, but during most of his presidency, the mainstream media, especially CNN, MSNBC, outlets like that, fomented a series of lies that were found out to be lies. Of course, Trump knew about it at the time, and he kept trying to get everybody to listen to him. But one of the things that he kept saying was that these guys are lying. They're fake news. They're fake news. So when the Biden administration proffered the maybe that there was going to be a debate, people were really surprised that Trump would say, yes, I will take this bait and I will go on CNN and of all places and have a debate. Now, the rules were set up before the guys went out. One of the rules is that there could be no there was nobody in the studio. So it was a blank studio audience that which would have probably played to Mr. Biden, because Mr. Trump was one of those guys who likes the limelight. He likes to be out in front of people. So they thought, okay, that's favoring Biden. Number two, that that they were limited to 2 minutes for a initial question, then 1 minute for rebuttals, which once again kind of favored. And maybe that was a toss-up, but it was very hard for you to get an answer out of somebody in 2 minutes and have them fully get their answers out. But number three, I think this was the toughest part, was that they were actually going to put a time limit, and the time limit was going to be enforceable by them turning your microphone off. What do we mean by that? Well, once they ask you a question, that once that 2 minutes was over or 1 minute was over, they would turn your microphone off. Which meant, if many of you saw the debate about 4 years ago, that Donald Trump was all over Joe Biden at the time. He was over him like what they say, white on rice, right? So it was pretty much a debacle. It was great show. It was great TV, but it was just very, very scary. So they felt that this might be advantageous once again to the Biden team, that there was not going to be this back and forth. So, and before we get to this article on the AP, I just a few more, just to set up just a little bit more. The Biden administration had one of their tactics that they wanted to use on this whole thing was that they were going to try to bait Donald Trump into going Trump. What we mean by that is that Donald Trump tends to be very combative, very in your face, very street brawlish, and he can play what they call the dozens. He can talk about yo mama as quickly as anybody else. Excuse me. So the Biden administration felt that they had Donald Trump on this because they were going to bait him into defending himself and getting into a tit for tat thing. And that only happened at one point during the debate, and we'll get into that in just a second. But it was very lively debate, and so I wanted to set that up for you so that you could actually maybe get a feel for what was going on during the debate. So as the debate began, and this is a story out of the Associated Press. Here's the headline. It says, Biden's debate performance spurs Democratic panic about his ability to lead the party against Trump. And this was really what it was. I don't have the video of it. Many of you, we posted it on our Facebook page, and we posted it on our YouTube, our website at Godstream.org. If you wanted to watch the live video, and the way it started was lended your mind into belief into knowing what was going to actually happen. Joe Biden came out first, and when he came out, he kind of shuffled out. And if that gave you any indication of what was going to happen, it was a prophetic thing, because that's pretty much the way it went the entire debate. At one time, many of you hear me talking on occasion, and I will lose my train of thought or something like that. Well, that's the way it was for Joe Biden off and on during that entire debate. Here's the story. It says, in Atlanta, above all, Joe Biden's allies wanted him to demonstrate strength and energy on the debate stage to help put to rest questions about the 81-year-old Democrat's physical and mental acuity. I'm going to stop right there. Joe Biden is 81 years old, and the biggest question about him is whether or not he's actually able to do it. Does he have the chops? This question was answered last night. At one point, Joe Biden looked off into space, and we saw this a lot. And he said the same thing over and over again. There was I know many of you are hearing it already, is that he kept saying to believe, just to believe. I think that was the phrase he used, to believe that something such a, and he just kept going back to that catchphrase, to believe that this issue is this, and to believe that that was there, and he kept going back there throughout the entire. As a matter of fact, my wife and I were talking about this, and we were saying, I wonder how many times he's actually going to say that, because it was amazing. On with the article. But on the biggest stage in U.S. politics on Thursday night, Biden did not meet their modest expectations. The expectation was that Joe Biden would come out as he did in the State of the Union address. And people really questioned that. They said, well, why is he so hyped up now? What is he on? Because Joe Biden, when you hear him speak, is not a very confident guy. He's not the guy of 20, 30 years ago. He's very shuffled. He's like your old grandpa. And they said, well, hopefully if he can do this, if he can at least come out plausible, then we'll give him a chance. But if not, this may not work. And unfortunately, that didn't work. We're going to go into another article, but everybody's pretty much saying the same thing. It says, and by the end of the 90-minute showdown, the Democrat president's allies, party strategists, rank and file voters alike, descended into an all-out panic following a debate performance punctuated by repeated stumbles, uncomfortable pauses, and a quiet speaking style that was often difficult to understand. Now, this is one of the things that the Biden campaign said. They said that the reason why Joe Biden's voice was so raspy was that he had a cold. Well, that was fine and well, and people overlooked that. But one, they never said anything about the cold until after the debate, after they heard his voice. And number two, it was not so much his raspy tone, it was what came out of his mouth or did not come out of his mouth. That's really what the raspy tone just exacerbated the obvious. So there was another story here, folks. This is in wow. This one is out of SRN News. No, let's not do that one. This is out of National Review. The headline here is Joe Biden lost the election. The only question is whether he stays on the ballot. Wow, that's and this is a right-leaning paper, but they're not a pro-Trump affiliate. Joe Biden will not be reelected as president is the headline. Philip Klein wrote this out. He says, while other presidential candidates have recovered from bad debate performances, last night was several orders of magnitude worse than anything we have ever seen in a presidential debate before. Biden did so badly that it was beyond the margin of spin. And what do we mean by that? Well, there are a couple of people, let's see. Do we have it up here? No. So there are a couple of pundits that are on TV. And Mika Brzezinski and Morning Joe, who generally carry the water for the president. And they could not even look at this and go, oh, well, there's something good about it. Now, if you watch the post-election spin, there were a couple of people who said, oh, well, it's just an off night. But by and large, mostly everybody said the same thing, that this was bad. And that even when you went over to CNN, who actually, CNN spent at least the first half an hour of their after debate spin, what do they call it, recap. At least for about a half an hour, they talked about the inconsistencies of what President Trump had said. As a matter of fact, they listed about 30 different things that actually the president said that were untrue, or their fact finders, their fact checkers went out and said something about him. But it was pretty obvious, though, that they could not spin Joe Biden out of this because it was just that bad. So, wow. We'll come back to that in just a second, folks. We need a reprieve. Let's lighten this up just a little bit. Once again, folks, if you're watching the broadcast today, I'm Sherman Ray. I'm the host of Godstream News. We want to encourage you folks to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let our friends know about it. Let your friends know about it, that we are on. And the more that you are able to like us, the more people that are watching this, the more YouTube will get us out so people can actually check this out. Also, if you'd like to go over to our YouTube channel, or excuse me, our online presence, our website at Godstream.org, you can check out all kinds of videos and sermons, videos, music, prophetic stuff, teaching, all the things that you would expect on a platform where we really focus in on just being a Christian. Okay. Today we're talking about of course, what happened yesterday, which was the election, and it was it was kind of hard to watch. The hardest part about the whole debate was knowing that not only was the mainstream audience, the left and the right, okay, they said about 73% of Americans were watching that debate, but our adversaries were watching the debate too, and that's the hardest part. What do we mean by our adversaries? Well, we're talking about Russia, China, Korea, that they were watching what is going on here, and what are they saying to themselves. Now, generally what happens in elections is that you have people who are, they'll say bad things about each other, and they'll say, hey, you're not doing well, or you're doing well, or whatever, that kind of thing. But in this case right here, what people were watching is they were watching the cognitive decline of the most powerful man on the planet. And what does that do for America's position on the national stage, on the global stage? And that's probably one of the scariest things about it. Now, people looking at this probably should have said, we are in big trouble. We're not just in trouble, we're in big trouble here in America, because China has been waiting to go into areas of influence around their area. And Russia, what Donald Trump brought to light very eloquently was that if he had been on watch, if he had been given a second chance at being the president, if he had won the presidency in 2020, you would not have these global incursions by these superpowers into other areas. You would have never had the Russia-Ukraine thing. You would have never had Hamas going into Israel. You would have never had these incursions. You would have never had the pullout of Afghanistan the way it was. And these are things that were brought out during the debate. These things would not have happened. You would never have had the over 10 million illegal aliens come across our southern border. You would not have that. And not only that, but the numbers of fentanyl deaths in our country, you would have never had that, because Donald Trump would have been on the helm. And people know, it was almost like when Reagan was on, when he was the president of the United States. Certain things just didn't happen because they thought Reagan was a loose cannon and that he would probably push the nuclear button. Sometimes the fear of the unknown in your adversary is really what matters. And that's one of the things he brought up. He said, you know what? If it had been me on guard, President Trump, none of this stuff would have happened. And he's right. He really is right. It's kind of like if your dad's at home, most people will not come to your house. So that's exactly what happened. The National Review article that we alluded to in the first segment really kind of highlights what most people got out of the presidential debate. It goes on to say, from the moment the debate ended, CNN, MSNBC, and outlets that have tried to prop him up, and that's Joe Biden, over the last 4 years, were alarmed and reported on full-blown panic among Democrats. At the New York Times, he lost Tom Friedman, Frank Burney. Who else did he lose? Frank Bruni, Nick Kristof, and just about everybody else. This morning, on one of Biden's biggest defenders and self-professed lovers of Biden, Joe Scarborough, we were talking about him before, Morning Joe, said if he were CEO and he turned in a performance like that, would any corporation in America, any Fortune 500 corporation in America, keep him on as CEO? And of course, there's a resounding no. So it was a big moment last night. And I think one that the nation's going to look at. I think in the next couple of days, what you're going to probably find out is that there's going to be a lot of stirring. There's a lot of stirring going on right now, but in the Democrat ranks, there's going to be a lot of stirring going around. And the question once again is, will Joe Biden end as in an honorable fashion and say, hey guys, I've done enough, I'm done, or will he go to such a defeat at the polls come November that it'll be an embarrassment? I tend to think that he will probably stick around, and that he'll have to. The only way he's going to leave is kicking and screaming. That's just my assessment of it. Let's go on to some other news. In Oklahoma, this is SRN News also. What a great article this is. Oklahoma orders schools to teach the Bible in every classroom. Woohoo! This is a story out of Reuters. No, you heard it right. Oklahoma orders schools to teach the Bible in every classroom. Oklahoma's Department of Education ordered every teacher in the state to have a Bible in their classroom and to teach from it. Wow. in an announcement on Thursday that challenges U.S. Supreme Court rulings that have found state sponsorship of religion to be unconstitutional. Ryan Walters, Oklahoma's superintendent of public instruction, announced the order with immediate effect at Thursday's Department of Education board meeting, in which he said special attention will be afforded to the Ten Commandments. Folks, we're seeing a realignment of America. We talked about this just about a month ago, that there's going to be a shift in American culture. Pendulum of bias went all the way to the left, where they're saying that they're going to teach nothing but woke ideology, DEI, what do they call it, CRT. And now people got to the point where they're going, we've got enough of this. This is going crazy. Boys are dressing in girls' bathrooms. Boys are doing all kinds of crazy things. Women are being affected by this, and people have had enough. And now, and also culturally, we've got people stealing stuff. I don't know if you've been to a Walmart lately or to any regular store, and you try to go and get soap. You try to, and I'm being very facetious about it, but you try to get chewing gum, anything, it's behind a locked door. Why? Because the culture has gotten to the point where we've swung so far to the left and so permissive in the things that we allow in our country, that lawlessness is the rule now. It's not the outlier. It's the rule now, being lawless. California had their rule where they said basically that you can steal up to $900 worth of product from a store before they will treat you as a felon. So what do thieves do? Well, they steal. They steal as much as they possibly can. And they say, well, who cares? Sue us. So things have gone so far to the left, and now the pendulum is swinging back to the right. And now you see in Oklahoma, this is an amazing story. The Christian Science Monitor had a story about abortion rulings, shows the Supreme Court splintered over the emergency case. Many of you probably heard this already also, that this was there was a leaked ruling by the Supreme Court that got out a couple of days ago, and in which they said that the that abortions were illegal under emergency situations. Here's a follow-up to that story. Doctors in Idaho can perform abortions in certain emergency situations without running afoul of the state's strict abortion ban, at least for now. The Supreme Court ruled in a procedural but emotionally fractured decision. The 6-3 dismissal of the Moyle versus U.S. comes as the country continues to grapple with the legal and medical fallout from the court striking down a constitutional right to abortion 2 years ago. And in that ruling, the Supreme Court said that Roe v. Wade shall no longer be the rule of the land. It will go back to the states. Now, most abortions, as President Biden said, if he is elected once again, he is going to try to reinstitute Roe v. Wade. How he can do that, we don't know. But he basically says we want to be able to kill a baby on sight. We want to be able, as soon as it comes out of the womb, we want to give people that right. Now, he says, we don't believe in this. We don't believe in late-term abortions, but that is exactly what Roe v. Wade would allow. And so that's, so right now the court is fractured on this subject, and that's something we need to keep in mind. Let's end on another feel-good story here, folks. Many of you know who Caitlin Clark is. Caitlin Clark is the WNBA phenom. Came out of college, breaking everybody's records, and came into the WNBA and hit a giant wall because of the opposition to her coming in and being so good at the collegiate level that when she came into the WNBA, not only came in with making big money, but getting big endorsements, and people who had been there for a number of years, who had already shown that they were a proven commodity, were upset because guess what? Not only was Caitlin Clark getting more money and getting more accolades than them, she had not proven herself. So, Caitlin Clark, this is a story out of the Daily Caller. Caitlin Clark makes incredible history that has her on pace to be the WNBA's greatest of all time. So, Andrew Powell wrote this. He says, I'm calling it now. Caitlin Clark will be the WNBA's GOAT, the greatest of all times. We're only halfway through the rookie year of Indiana Fever superstar Caitlin Clark, and it's already quite clear that she's destined for greatness in the league. Just look at her current campaign for Rookie of the Year, as she hit one heck of a milestone Thursday to strengthen her cause for the award. Okay, so this is what she did. Taking on the Seattle Storm, the Fever suffered defeat. But despite the loss, and that's the biggest one right now, even though they lost, Clark became the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 300 points, 100 assists, and 100 rebounds. Caitlin Clark got to those numbers in 19 games, according to the Across the Timeline organization, which beat out Andrea Stinson's record of 22 games. Stinson played for the Charlotte Sting at the time, a now defunct team that totally needs to make a comeback. And while we're on the subject, can Miami get a W18? Anyways, Caitlin Clark is out there balling and already making herself the league's greatest of all time while doing it. And so I guess we could end on that story. So Caitlin Clark is right now doing such an amazing job. We want to give her kudos for what she's able to do for the WNBA. But and we wish her all the best. We really do. She's a golden commodity for the WNBA. It's how to continue to pray for this girl. She's a Christian. She's a heterosexual woman in a league full of women who are probably not. And so once again, people are very upset that she's doing a good thing. But we're here to let you know we're behind her. We're behind women's sports. And if we had our way here at Godstream News, we would continue just to see women's sports just brought up all the time. Once again, folks, we want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let everybody know that Godstream News is out there and that you love us and that you want to see us more and more on your YouTube channel. So just go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Just hit the subscribe button and let everybody know that you love us and that you want to see more of us. We want to thank you once again, folks, for being a part of Godstream News. It's been a pleasure to be a part of your show today. Follow us on not only our YouTube channel, but our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on it all places. And go to our website at godstream.org/channel/news. Okay, godstream.org/channel/news, and you can check us all out. Once again, this has been Pastor Sherman Ray for Godstream News. We'll talk to you again later, folks. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.